Good morning, everyone. That's better. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Climate Action Week. Really pleased that you're able to join us again today. We've got some very exciting stuff to show you today, and one of our friends is back to join us as well. But first, we're going to do the same as we did yesterday, and we're going to have a wee think about how much do we know about climate change. Same as yesterday, don't worry if you get any of these wrong, that's okay, because we're all here to learn. So hopefully we'll learn something from these questions. And if you know all the answers, then great job, you're already doing very well. So our first question is, what are greenhouse gases? Okay, put 2 hands up and you can do a little dance. If you think they are gases that can absorb heat energy emitted from the Earth's surface and radiate it back to the Earth's surface, or 1 hand up if you think it's the most common gases found in the Earth's atmosphere, or hand on your head if you think it's gases that can reflect the heat energy from the sun, preventing the heat energy from reaching Earth's surface. That's a lot to think about. So I'll give you a moment to have a think. If you want to take a vote in your class, your teacher can put your answer in the chat and we'll see what everyone thinks. Do we think we're having a dance party? Mr. Redmond's class is having a dance party, so 2 hands up. You like a dance party first thing in the morning? 2 hands up, lots of 2 hands up. Excellent. Because everyone who had 2 hands up, everyone having the dance party is correct. Greenhouse gases are gases that can absorb heat energy emitted from the Earth's surface and re-radiate it back to the Earth's surface. And what re-radiate means is like a blanket, keeping the heat in, not letting it escape out into space. Now this is tricky because the other 2 might look correct as well, but there are lots of gases in our atmosphere, many of which don't absorb heat energy. And the most common of these is nitrogen, and that's not a greenhouse gas. So greenhouse gases are not the most common gases in the Earth's atmosphere, that's nitrogen. And the last option, a gas that can reflect the heat energy away from Earth, so reflect it back toward the sun or back out into space, that's what's called an anti-greenhouse effect. So a cooling effect. And that is what's seen on Saturn's moon, Titan. So it's very cold there because the atmosphere on Titan reflects all the heat away from the surface. So well done, everyone who had 2 hands up. Good job. Let's try another one. True or false? Greenhouse gases are bad. If you think they're bad all the time, 1 hand up. And if you think that's false, that maybe greenhouse gases have some good properties, put your hand on your head. And let's see what you think. Mrs. Spence's class have 1 hand up. Mrs. McCallum's class say that's true. Mrs. Wood's class has mostly 1 hand up. A lot of people thinking this is true. Yeah. Except for Mr. Redmond's class, which is a mix. Very good. We've all had a chance to think about this one. Are greenhouse gases always bad? Let's see what the answer is. The answer is false. Now, a lot of you got this wrong, and I can understand why. Because most of what we hear about when we're talking about greenhouse gases is not good news, is it? It's always, well, almost always, we need to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases. And we're usually talking about climate change in terms of the extra warming effect that greenhouse gases are having on our atmosphere. So usually we're not talking about them in a good way. We're talking about the effects of too much greenhouse gas, which is a bad thing, yes, but we do need greenhouse gases in some quantities to keep the temperature of our planet warm enough for life to survive. So if we didn't have greenhouse gases at all on Earth, we might look something like this. Can anyone think of what this is? Should look pretty familiar. Many of you will have seen it in the sky. This is a place that has no greenhouse gases at all. That's right. A lot of you, it's saying it's the moon. That's right. This is our moon. And our moon doesn't have an atmosphere, which means it doesn't have that blanket of greenhouse gases around it. So it doesn't have a greenhouse effect, which means it's freezing cold at night. And we couldn't survive there without big astronaut suits to keep us warm enough and give us air to breathe. And it's very hot during the day as well, because there's nothing to protect the surface of the moon from the sun. So we need greenhouse gases to keep our planet at a temperature that can sustain life. But what we don't need is too much greenhouse gas. And humans at the moment, through all of our activities and driving and manufacturing, etc., we're releasing too much greenhouse gas, too many greenhouse gases, causing our planet to heat up rapidly. So that's the bad part, but we do need them. Now, if you joined us yesterday, don't worry if you didn't, but if you did, can you tell us one thing that you learned yesterday? Yesterday, we spoke to Emma Reynolds, and she told us all about the young activists that she's been writing about in her book, in her graphic novel. And she was telling us how important your voice is when working on climate change. Is there anyone there at the moment who would like to share something that you've learned from yesterday's lesson? I know I learned a great deal about how important the arts are for climate action, how it's not just STEM careers that are important in taking action on climate change. So that was a good thing to learn for myself. Mr. Redmond's class says big companies are putting oil pipes on Indigenous lands and we need to try to change it. And that is something very important. Yes, she did say that a lot of Indigenous people's lands are being used for oil pipelines and mining and the like, and that is something that needs to change. And Miss Stewart's P7 class said they learned about environmental racism, which is, yes, that's also unfortunately something that we need to change. Young people can change the world. You certainly can. Mrs. Wood's class, whoa, there's so many. Mrs. Wood's class said they didn't know about environmental racism. Young people have an important vote from Mr. Redmond's class. Yes. Climate change is natural, but we're making it worse. Well, we're making it happen more quickly and a lot more than would be a natural process. That's right. And that's something that we need to change. Yes. There's so many good things in here. You're right. All of those things are very important. Animals are losing their habitats. Yes. I think the most important takeaway from yesterday's lesson is that your voices as young people are very important. So you can do a lot, even with just your voice, to take action on climate change. So now I am very excited to learn about, or to tell you about, to introduce our friend, Jasper Hughes, and he also has Emma with him today, and we are going to learn about nature's engineers, which is very exciting. Jasper, it's so good to see you again.
Hello, guys. How you
joining
doing?
Us from the Highland Wildlife Park, and we're just...
And there's Emma.
There's Emma. Hello, Emma. And we're just hoping that you don't get rained on today.
Well, it's not the rain I'm bothered about. It's the wind. It is blowing an absolute hoolie up here at the moment.
Oh dear.
So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about the park. So at the moment, I'm just going to turn the camera around so we can have a look around here. This is the Highland Wildlife Park. And we have lots of rare and endangered animals up here. And the Highland Wildlife Park is actually managed by RZSS, the Royal Zoological Society of Scotland. They own Edinburgh Zoo and the Highland Wildlife Park. So now RZSS is actually involved in over 20 conservation projects worldwide. We're going to be looking and talking about some of those amazing conservation programs today. So we're going to be traveling around the world, looking at some of nature's engineers, looking at how important they are to keeping the environment safe and tidy as well. So now at the moment, if I turn the camera around, you can, I'm just going to turn the camera around. We've got a visitor. So if we can just look here, this is one of our wolverines. And Wolverine is actually on the tree at the moment. And this, he's come down. This actually looks like Trottle. And Trottle is our young male. So now, one of the big problems that many animals that we have here, because they're all cold adapted animals, is climate change. And climate change is going to be a real problem for some of these exotics, like the wolverine, like the snow leopard. We've got a snow leopard just at the top there. But we're not going to be having a good look at these guys. We're going to be talking about something which is a little bit understudied and underthought about, really, because these are some of the rare animals and small insects that we have here. So now the Highland Wildlife Park is actually located in the Cairngorm National Park, one of the largest national parks in Great Britain. And we are a park within a park. So, and we have specialist animals from the Himalayas, from the Andes, from the polar regions. And we actually have polar bears here at our park. And we also have the second baby polar bear that was born here, called Brody. Now, guys, if you want to learn more about our park, you can go online, you can have a look. We've even done a TV program all about our animals as well. But what we're going to do, Kat, have you got my PowerPoint? Can you pop that up on the screen so people can see? So like I say, we're going to be looking at climate awareness. So what we're going to do, we're just going to move on to the next slide. And we are going to talk about this area here. Now, you've seen it today. This is what it can look like in the winter, covered in snow. We can have some extreme weather here. And unfortunately, the weather is getting more and more extreme because of climate change. So it's becoming warmer, it's becoming wetter, it's also becoming colder sometimes as well, and we're getting huge amounts of snow. So huge changes, huge variability for us, but also for the animals as well, because these animals are all adapted to a certain environment. And it's a real problem for them when it starts changing. And climate change, as you're all probably aware, is changing so much faster than it has been in the last few years. And the problem is the animals can't change quick enough to adapt to the changes. So they are going to be having some problems. So now one of the animals that we've got here, if we can go on to the next slide. Oh, now I want you to try and guess what animal this could be. So, Kat, if you could get rid of green box 1, please. So, oh, now what is that? What could that be? Is that an animal or is it a plant? Can we get rid of blue box 2? Oh, now, has anybody got any ideas what that could be? Pop it in the chat. What animal is that? So I think that blue thing is not an animal. Oh, honeybee, somebody said. Bumblebee, bee. Oh, let's get rid of box number 3. Everybody's, yes, it is a bee. But what kind of bee is it? It's not a bumblebee because he's not furry and he's really, really tiny. So what we'll do, press the button again, Kat. What is it? It is a small scabious mining bee. Now, you saw Emma earlier. So this is, oh, let me just turn the camera around, Emma. So there's Emma. So what we're going to do, Emma is our bee expert. So what we're going to do, now where do these bees live, Emma?
they don't make honey. They are a really special type of bee called a solitary bee. So when we think of bees, we often think of honeybees, but actually we've got 3 types of bees in the UK. Broadly speaking, we have got honeybees, which some people guess for that one, bumblebees, which as Jessica said, and the third type is solitary.
So you've got
wow.
types.
How many species of bees do you think we have in the UK, Douglas?
I don't. Let's ask the kids.
Yeah.
Guys,
what do you think, guys? How many species of bees live in? What do you reckon?
Emma, I think you said how many species of bees are there in Scotland? We're having a hard time hearing you because of the wind. Can you maybe step closer to the microphone for us?
How's that? Is that a little bit better?
That's much better, thanks.
It is more than 3. A lot more.
A lot more than 3.
A really big number.
So more than 60.
More than 60.
More than 100.
Oh, we're getting close now.
Somebody put 200.
If you add 2 people together, somebody, yes, 250. Very, very good.
Whoa! Somebody got carried away with the zeros then.
Over 250 species. So yeah, about over 270. So that is how many species of bee we have. So one of those is a honeybee, 24 are bumblebees, and over 200 of them are solitary bees. So they live under the ground in tunnels. They live, if anybody's got bee hotels in their garden, they can live in those. And we are going to have a look.
Right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to turn the camera around. And so we are going to go and see if we can find a bee home. So now Emma says that they live underground. So it's not where you normally think a bee would live underground. But what they like to do is they like to form an upside down castle. So they've got lots of different rooms. Now, now I can see a hole, Emma. Is that it? Now I've got to get really close to the floor. Now Emma, can you put your finger next to it?
Yeah,
there we go. So there we go, guys. There we go. So there's Emma's finger, and you can see the hole just there.
Look how tiny that is.
And look how small it is. It is a super tiny hole. So that hole. Oh, the phone just decided to switch on. There we go. So, where's the hole, Emma? You have to put your finger
there
next to it.
There we
go. There we go. So, now, that hole is super tiny. And that super tiny hole is where the bee goes. So if you've seen a bumblebee, you know how big they are. They couldn't fit in that hole. But this scabious mining bee fits in it. So if we go on to the next slide, Kat, and hopefully we will be able to see what their home looks like. So that's it. So there we go. So there's a scabious mining bee. You can see him just coming out of his home. But what does his home look like underground? So, and click on again, Kat. There we go. So in there, you can see lots of different things. Now I'm going to hand the phone up to Emma because I'm leaning on the floor. And Emma, if you can explain what you can see there.
Emma, we can't hear you. The wind is blowing your voice away.
This is, see if that works. Okay, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better now. Brilliant. So excellent. So what we're looking at here is underneath that hole, this is what it looks like. So what happens at this time of year, or a little bit earlier when the weather was a little bit warmer, is the female bee will come along and she will dig this hole. So she's very, very strong if you think how solid that soil is. She digs this hole, she makes this burrow that you can see here, and that is where she lays her eggs. So she'll lay the eggs and they will stay under there all winter. So the young bees are on their own then, and they have a life cycle. They stay under there all winter as larvae.
Okay, So what we're going to do, if I can have the headphones.
Yeah.
So if you hold that. Oh, we've got all the modern technology because of all the wind at the moment. So use it, good old headphones. So fantastic. So they live underground, which is not what you normally expect. But these animals are really, really important because they are pollinators. So pollinators are fantastic for pollinating flowers, trees, bushes, you name it, everything. Also food. And without our bees, without this next animal, we would actually have no food because of not only food for us, but also for the animals as well. If we can click on to the next slide. So, let's get rid of orange number 1. What animal is that? Let's get rid of number 2. Oh, any ideas what animal that could be, guys? Put your answers in the chat. Oh, a wasp. Nice idea. Hornet. So, not a bee, not a wasp, not a hornet, not a mini bee. Definitely not a wasp. Oh, let's get rid of box number 3. Oh, somebody's very good. I saw somebody put hoverfly. Yes, this is the pine hoverfly. And this is actually one of our big projects that we're involved in. Now, a lot of people think flies. Why are you looking after flies? Flies are horrible. Actually, these flies are lovely. They're not the ones that go onto your food. These go onto plants, and they are pollinators too. And up until about, when did we last see a hoverfly, Emma?
For years and years. So before the project started, no one had seen an adult hoverfly in the wild, adult pine hoverfly, for years. It's over a decade. So it's really important that we have this breeding program that's going on now.
So they're actually only found in one wood in Scotland. Actually, I tell a lie, they've now been put into more woods. But 10 years ago, there was only one wood where they had pine hoverflies. But now we have actually introduced them. We've bred them here at the Highland Wildlife Park, and we've released them into the wild. And this is absolutely fantastic for the animals and for the plants, because we're starting to lose animals because of climate change. Climate change is having a huge effect on many of our animals, but we have to look after the little guys as well. Now, what do you think is more important? Do you think it's more important to have polar bears or flies? Put in your answer, either polar bear or fly in the chat. Who is more important to look after? So pop it in the chat. Oh, you are brilliant. So people are saying flies. People are saying both. Both are just as important. Yes, they are, because they are all well adapted for their environment. They all have very special roles. But flies, insects, whether it bees, crickets, all spiders, they all underpin the whole of the ecosystem. And without the insects, there would be no other animals within the food chain that animals can eat. So flies, I think, are super important, but polar bears are just as super important as well, because they manage everything to keep it all in balance. But yeah, fantastic. Now, what's on the next slide, Kat? Oh, fantastic. Now, Emma's really good on this. So now, can you tell me what that is? Now, these are pine hoverfly larvae. They look like maggots.
They do. Some people even call them rat tail maggots, which I think is a very mean name. They are very, very lovely.
So looking at those, in fact, Kat, can you just play that video? If you just click on that video, should start. And hopefully we'll see some wriggling. Oh, there we go. You can see them. They're moving around. Now,
larvae. They
are larvae. So, look at that. What long thing that's wiggling at the top? What's that long thing, Emma?
So that might look like a tail that you can see wiggling around there. But what it actually is a breathing tube. So they've got this big, long breathing tube because they spend this stage of their lives underwater. So they use that big, long breathing tube, a bit like a snorkel, if anyone's used a snorkel before.
So are they breathing out of their bum?
Yes, it's kind of like a bum snorkel.
A bum snorkel!
It's on that end of their body.
Wow.
I think that counts.
Yeah, I think that counts. Yeah, it's a bum snorkel. How cool is that? So now click on to the next slide, Kat. What have we got next? Oh, let's get rid of box number 1. Oh, what animal is that? Pop it in the chat. What could it be? Oh, we've got some experts. Some people are saying otter. Some people are saying beaver. Oh, that wind's getting even stronger. It is a beaver. Yes, that's number 2. Number 3. Yeah, you can see that characteristics of the beaver. So why is the beaver so important? This is actually one of our keystone species. These animals were actually extinct in Scotland 400 years ago. But RZSS in 2009 managed to reintroduce this animal back into Scotland. And this is absolutely fantastic. So now what do they do? So if you click on cats, so now, yeah, it is the Eurasian beaver. Now, what are beavers famed for doing? What do beavers make? There's a clue. What do you see in that picture? What could it be? Pop your answers in the chat. Oh, dams, making dams. You guys are brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. You're getting all the answers right. Yeah, they make dams. So, Kat, if you click on, you should see a nice big arrow. Yay, that's the dam there. So now European beavers are a little bit different from American beavers. They don't make such large dams, but they do make dams. And those dams are really, really important because when we're getting all this change in weather, we're getting lots of flooding, we're getting lots of rain. And these nature's engineers are fantastic. They are actually helping us now that we have them. So, and we need to get beavers back into more areas of Scotland to help and reduce flooding. Because what happens, you're probably thinking, how does a dam stop flooding? Well, it stops all the water flooding down. It will potentially break or it will go around the side, but it slows the rate that that water goes into the big main rivers. And we have been making dams ourselves for the SEPA, which is the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, and also down in Wales, and they make these porous dams. It will be so much easier if we just had beavers, and we did that. And in 2009, like I say, we introduced them into Knapdale. And now we have beavers in Perthshire and Tayside, which is around Perth and southern Aberdeenshire area. And they are doing really, really good. And they've now been recognized as a native species. So if there's anybody that's in Perthshire, any of the schools, you might see some of the signs. And this is the chewed wood. These are some of the dams, and it is brilliant. Now, when they're making the dams, they're actually creating a habitat for lots of other animals as well. It's not just for themselves. So these are spawning grounds, so the fish can go in there. So they're not going to cause, well, they can cause damage depending upon your perspective, but they will cut down trees, but they're not killing the trees. They take down some of the big trees, and then these little trees grow back up from the stump, which is a nice food source for these animals. Now, I'm going to just turn my camera around, and then hopefully, oh, there we go. So we are looking at, guys, hopefully you can see that. Kat, let me know if you can't see it. So we are looking at the inch marshes. And hopefully in the next few months, beavers are going to be introduced into this whole area directly in front of the Highland Wildlife Park. So they're going to be introducing them into areas where the landlords, the land owners are happy to have beavers on their land, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I am so excited about having these native species back on our doorstep. Right then, Kat, let's click on to the next box. Next slide. Oh, let's get rid of box number 1. What have we got on box? Now, I'm going to give you some clues because this is quite a hard one. Well, let's see Christopher Redmond, you are brilliant. So, did anybody else see it? Oh, yes. Everybody else saw your... Wow. Okay, I'm going to make it harder now for you. You've got armadillo, but what kind of armadillo? So, what could it be? What kind of armadillo? Give me one word that describes this armadillo. Underground? No. Oh. No. I've seen one correct answer, but I'm not going to say what it is. What could it be? What could it be? Any more answers? It is the giant armadillo. Now, these animals are not native, okay? These animals actually live in South America, in the Pantanal, a large area of grassland, which has been, unfortunately, developed in some areas, but yeah, it is the giant armadillo. Now, the giant armadillo is roughly the size of a pig. Wow, that's how big this armadillo is. And look at those claws. So armadillos can be as small as an orange. And that's the pink, I love this, the pink fairy armadillo. How cute a name can you get rather than the pink fairy armadillo? All the way up to the giant armadillo. And giant armadillos are really, really important to the Pantanal because they dig holes. So, and when they dig holes probably about every 2 days. And they dig so in there so they can shelter down underground out of the heat of the day, and they will just sit there, and they were believed to be these mythical creatures that suddenly appeared at night, but they're just hiding underground. So one way that we can actually find these animals is by camera traps. And what we do, we put camera traps around the holes to find out what they're doing. And one of the really cool things that we found out about the giant armadillos is that their home is not just for themselves, it is for other people, other animals. And they've actually recorded anything up to 77 other animals that use the armadillo dens. So, and look at those claws. What do you think these animals feed on? Look at those claws. Do you think they're carnivores or herbivores or insectivores? What animals do you think they like to eat? So it put meat, veggies, or insects. Oh, yes. Insectivores. These guys love termites, and they use those big claws for digging into the hard termite ground and licking it up with their very long tongue, so they can get all those fantastic insects. So if we can click on to the next slide. So there we go. Now, this is one of our study animals, and what we do, we actually radio collar them, we study them, and you can actually find out lots of information about our giant armadillo project by going onto our website. We've also got an activity sheet for you where we tell you all about bees, we tell you about the armadillos and about the beavers as well, and also what you can do. If we click on, what else have we got? So, oh, these are all the different types of animals that like to use the armadillo burrows. So you've got other, oh, look, there's another armadillo. It's a six-banded armadillo. We got tortoises. We've even got Tyra. I don't even know what that is. I know nothing about that animal, which is so cool. And I'm going to Google that later and find out all about these amazing animals. So next slide. Oh, Serema. I like Seremas. Oh, another armadillo, a nine-banded armadillo. Coatis, ocelots. Oh, rare cats that live in the Pantanal. So next slide. What have we got? Oh, look at that crab. Oh, a crab-eating fox. Never heard. Feral pigs and the lesser anteater, or the tamadua. What a cool name. Now, I know something about the tamadua. What they like to do, they actually are usually found up in the trees. They come down. But when they have babies, they like to go into the giant armadillo nests, and they like to leave their baby hidden underground when mum goes out hunting for insects. So it acts like a nursery, which is so cool that other animals are using other animals' homes as well. Absolutely fantastic. So what's on the next slide? Oh, some other animals. Oh, agoutis, lizards, peccaries. Peccaries are like pigs, but they're not. Feral pigs are domesticated animals which have gone wild, whereas peccaries are wild pigs. So they've got lots of different animals there as well. So this is just a selection. So the reason why we've got all these different pictures is because we put the camera traps there, and we use camera traps to study the animals, which is absolutely fantastic. So next slide. Oh, yes. Like I say, if you want to learn more about our amazing conservation work, like I say, you can go onto our website, but also there's information that you can download and you can click onto, learning about making homes for animals. So what can we do to help our local animals? Any ideas? Pop it in the chat. What could we do to help the bees? What do you call the big hairy thing? Beavers, that was it. So I couldn't remember the name of that animal. We can't help the armadillo because they live in a different country, but you can support RZSS and their projects worldwide. Make animal shelters. Yes, you can. So plant trees, don't litter. That's it. Oh, you can live, but you got to make sure it's the right food, because some people do put food out which is not very good for animals, like hedgehogs. So you always need to make sure it's always better just to put out water for them, and they'll find their own food. So yeah, you can plant trees, plant flowers, have a suitable environment, have a wild area in your garden or in your school, and that is absolutely fantastic. Right then, guys, we are coming to the end of our talk. I can talk a lot, Kat. Kat usually has to try and chase me off, but hopefully I have been more on time this week than I have before. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Like I say, if you can, come and visit us at the park. Don't be shy, say hi. And like I say, you come and see some of the amazing animals that we've got here. And you, when you're coming to the park, you're also helping us help look after our animals worldwide, as well as local, like the pine hoverfly and the small scabious mining bee. I had to be reminded then. Oh, right, guys. Kat, are you still there?
I'm right here.
Excellent. Right, guys. Well, I'm going to hand back over to Kat, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Jasper. That was amazing as always. I can't believe the size of the claws on the armadillo. Those are huge, and I also can't believe how big they are. I always thought an armadillo was a small thing. I had no idea they could be that big.
Actually, armadillos historically were the size of a car. There's an armadillo fossil that you can find called a glyptodon, and they are the size of a small car. Right, that's how big they used to be.
That's definitely something I need to Google when we finish up here today, because I'm having trouble picturing an armadillo the size of a car. That's amazing. Thank you, Jasper, for showing us, as always, so many amazing animals and so many amazing animal facts. I could sit and listen to you talk about the animals at the zoo and the wildlife park all day, but I know you have other classes and other things to get to. So well, thank you so much for spending your morning with us today. I'm just going to run over the things that you can do in your class. Sorry, Jasper, go ahead.
I was just going to say bye-bye and see you next time.
Thank you, Jasper. See you next time. So you remember yesterday, if you joined us, we were talking about some of the things that you can do this week in your class or at home if your school is closed this week. So we are asking you to create a poster in groups or as a class to talk about the kinds of things that you would like to see in Scotland in the year 2045. Now, if you remember, 2045 is the year that we hope Scotland will reach net zero with restored nature. And these posters will be a message to the First Minister of the future that you hope for. So we'd love to see your posters if you're working on one. And as many of you said, one of the things that you can do to help nature is always to do a litter pick. I know we always put this as one of our activities, but that's because it's so important. Scotland has such a litter problem, and it's one of the easiest things that we can all do to help nature and to protect our environment. And even though it's a bit windy and rainy here today, it could be nice to get outside and get some fresh air. So even if you just pick up a couple of pieces of litter, all of that, every piece helps. The third thing that you can do this week is to send us a short video message of how you or your school, your nursery or your class are taking action on climate change, starting with "I keep Scotland beautiful by," and then telling us what you're doing for climate change. You can see there's loads of examples on this slide there of people growing vegetables or doing litter picks, biking to school. There's a picture there of people's protesting or outside their school about the action they want to see taken on climate change. Anything that you're doing on climate change, we would love to hear about. So please, if you have a moment, make a short video and share it with us. And here is how you share your work with us. Or you can also, if you have any questions for Jasper or for Emma Reynolds yesterday, you can email them to us at ecoschools@keepscotlandbeautiful.org. We'd love to hear your questions, and we will answer as many of them as we can at our assembly on Friday, where we hope to have another special guest for you all. So if you do any of the work that's in the resource folder or any of the things that we're suggesting you do this week, please tell us about them by an email. And you can also find us on all social media platforms at KSB Scotland. We always love hearing from you. So we're looking forward to seeing all your amazing work during the week and to showcase it at Friday's assembly, together with any questions you might send us. So that's all we have for today. So thank you once again for joining us this morning. I hope to see you again tomorrow, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.